Happy Friday evening, good friends of the Buffalo Bills community and football watcher community. We appreciate you immensely for tuning into this week's episode of Under Review, where, yes, the host of the show has changed the intro format for probably the 37th time that this show has existed and been going live. This is going to be a fun episode, folks. I hope you are ready for it because we certainly are, but I will let that intro play. Let's go, folks.
Previous play will go under review.
Citizens of Earth, lend me your ears. And once again, thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode of Under Review, a much more positive live stream than the last time I went live with Bruce Nolan, where two things happened. I ranted to death about the organization and me losing faith in the front office, and my router crapped out midstream, so I disappeared while I did it. I gave Anthony a very long briefing about that potential to happen tonight on the live stream. I hope it doesn't. That's why the intro changed, in the off chance that my face froze and I couldn't bring him live. But we're here. It's a Friday night. The vibes are great, and my guest is great as well. His name is Mr. Anthony Prohaska, and he is back on the show for the umpteenth time. Anthony, thank you so much for being here. I always appreciate your time. And how are you doing tonight, my friend?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. I was jotting down some last minute notes. Excited to have the conversation we're having tonight. And yeah, it should be. I'm not even going to make a comment in regards to the internet. I'm so superstitious and I don't want to jinx anything. So hopefully you have a good time. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Hopefully we have a good time is probably the motto of tonight's episode and the motto of watching Bills games this season. Hopefully we have a good time because you never know what the hell we're going to get. It's
a good
the
motto
truth,
for a
man.
franchise. Like the whatever team, like the so-and-so. Hope we have a good time.
Hopefully it's fun. This is probably the most Jekyll and Hyde Bill season I can recall since probably the drought era, because even in the Dorsey administration a few years back, there was kind of telegraphed badness for the Bills. But when it came to this season, it almost feels like there are versions of last year's team that you see and you're like, oh my goodness, this team could actually win it all. And then there's the version where they look like poop and we hate it. And we're going to dive into all of that tonight. But first, yes, this news did just come out, Anthony, that apparently Josh Allen is going to be a father to more than just the Miami Dolphins, which I think is very exciting. So on this show, I will simply address this by saying congratulations to both of them. Yeah, I don't really have much else. Happy holidays, guys. But yeah, congratulations to both of them. Now let's move on to the crux of this show. And Anthony, I got you for the hour. And even though we are removed from this game, I do want to just do one final send-off of this Bills-Bengals matchup, because one of the better wins of the Bills season. I know the Bengals had a bad record, but Joe Burrow is back. They are 0-2 going into this game against Joe Burrow. It looks like when the game starts, you're about to get another shellacking from a Bengals offense. And to be fair, they kind of still got pummeled, but they overcame their deficiencies. They overcame a lot of adversity in this game and wound up winning with a nice fourth quarter comeback and a very, very, I would say, memorable and truly MVP-like performance from Josh Allen. I will turn it back to you. I know you've spoken about this with Eric. You've spoken about it several times, but your closing thoughts, biggest takeaways, good and bad, from this matchup against the Bengals.
Oh, it's so tough because I feel like there's a whole bunch of like little things, but then some are matchup specific, some are not. Biggest negative for me, kind of like not necessarily the return of the third down struggles, but like the third down struggles reiterating their like ugly face or head again. Like 83% conversion rate for the Bengals, 10 out of 12 third downs, I believe it was. Like just unreal. And in a variety of ways, I went back and charted a bunch of them. Like the majority of them, they're in dime, and they're in like a 3-2-6, so 3 down linemen, 2 linebackers, and then the dime, so 6 defensive backs. But you got some 2-man, you got a non-traditional Tampa, there's a run in there, there's some quarters, there's more 2-man, there's some cover 3, there's some 2-man odd mirror, there's a 6-man pressure, like there's a double bracket they run on Chase and Higgins, like there's another blitz with a 3 deep 2 under. Like it wasn't like they were just sitting there going, it's like, wow, man, like they were 10 of 12 on third down, but they ran cover 3 like 50% of the time. Like they kind of varied it up a little bit, and it felt it was so helpless In the game, I thought they were varying it, but I couldn't really tell without the all 22. And then watching the all 22 back, it felt more helpless because they were varying some things up, and it was just like no matter what you do, like that's like when a pitcher's just having the worst day. It's like fastball gone, like for a home run. Okay, I'll throw the changeup, gone, home run. All right, cool, I'll throw the slider, gone, home run. It's like, well, I'm throwing everything. Why they keep hitting everything? Like, what do I do? So that was kind of worrisome to see. I'm hopefully kind of just chalking that up to like, hey, Joe Burrow is awesome and T. Higgins is awesome, and they had a good game plan for Chase, so they allocated resources there and got beat by some guys elsewhere. Then on the other side of the ball, watching the run game do some things, watching Josh Allen do some things. I think kind of just seeing the offense be able to generate some explosives through play action and through the tight ends and through Allen's legs, and any way that they can generate explosives is so helpful because this offense is so dependent on their run game, on the non-Josh Allen run game. So if they can generate some explosives on a 5-yard pass that goes for 25, or they can suck in the second level and Allen can hit a wide open Dawson Knox at 15 yards and let him run for another 20 or whatever. Any way they can get explosives is awesome. And they managed to do it against an albeit less than ideal defense for Cincinnati, especially at the second level with, 2 rookie linebackers that have been picked on a bit. But yeah, I think that's kind of where you go. And also you're like my last little piece with it, and you mentioned it, the Bengals have essentially had their number, and they kind of did have their number again in this game. And then 2 turnovers turned the game on its head. See turnovers get back into play for the Bills. Their defense needs them like they did last year. So nice to see them get on the board with that as well and kind of use that to turn the tide and finally get off the schneid against the Burrow Bengals.
Yeah, having the green W in the column against the Burrow Bengals is probably a weight off the shoulders of this team, whether they admit it or not. When you have a quarterback like that come to town and you take him down, it's a badge of honor. And despite the circumstances, I mean, their offense didn't really miss a beat Cincinnati's, and yet the fact that they were able to win one of those vintage Cincinnati games, aka they put up 30 plus and lose, it's pretty nice to have that just behind you now. And when you have future matchups with Joe Burrow, it might just be something where, okay, we got our win. We feel more comfortable. These games aren't going to look as lopsided. And that mentality can loom large when you talk about matchups. I mean, I think a lot about Josh Allen's first 2 games against Patrick Mahomes that were losses and eventually getting the win he needed. It's just something where better competition, getting a win against them probably makes you feel like you're more of an equal than someone that's having something to prove. And I think that does mean a lot for the Bills and especially Josh Allen, because even if it's not a quarterback versus quarterback game, you know who's on the other side. You know how the media talks about it. You know what the narratives are. And all those things shouldn't matter, but they probably matter to a lot of players. Yeah. So in this case, I'm glad they got that win. I'm glad that they can really get that monkey off their back and feel better about playing the Bengals in the future, hopefully. But thinking about this game and putting the closing thoughts on it, I mean, for the offense, I had a very nervous gut feeling that this was going to be, it's the worst defense in football, so they're going to struggle because we can never watch a game comfortably. But it never really seemed like, with the exception of a couple of drives, the Bills ever lost composure or lost any sort of focus when it came to attacking what they needed to exploit against the Bills defense. I mean, you guys on the film room, you and Eric talked about Sean McDermott and the analytics about the tight end matchups and how that's something they needed to exploit. And they wasted no time in doing it. And they leaned on it substantially in the game. And I think why that makes me very optimistic about the future isn't just because it's the Bengals and it's the tight ends to be exploited and it's something that their defense struggles with, but I think the strength of the Bills offense, and we'll get to this a little bit more in detail when we preview the Pats matchup, is going to be just getting heavy and using those tight ends as pass catchers to sell a threat. If you don't have enough faith in the wide receiver core, having some semblance of a threat with 3 of your tight ends in any alignment, that to me is something that makes them a bit more unpredictable and makes them more of an explosive offense when you talk about what other defenses down the line might try to take away from the Bills, which is their run game. So if I can sell a tight end as a valuable and legitimate threat in the passing game in really any way, I think that's a huge boost for their offense that really needs all the boosts they can get right now. That isn't just Josh Allen and James Cook. So I love seeing that. What I did not love seeing, Anthony, and what did not quell my worry, was, again, the Bengals offense against the Bills defense. Now, yes, the Christian Benford play is one of the best defensive plays I have seen in the Sean McDermott era, maybe even from the Bills ever. That is a substantially massive play, maybe even for the rest of the season from Christian Benford. And I am very happy with his individual turnaround. And in the defense itself, there are individuals that I feel very comfortable with going forward, or at the very least for the rest of the season, in their individual play. Shaq Thompson, Deion Walker, Christian Benford, players that I think have elevated themselves enough to say, even with everything around them kind of falling apart at times, I think they're stabilizing presence. But I did not love the early game plan. I did not love the space and the cushion. I understand zone principles. I understand not trying to get beat over the top. But I feel like sometimes we lean a little too into being afraid of Jamar Chase and T. Higgins getting behind you, to a point where when the third down situation comes up and the sticks are just left vacated and there is all this open space, it makes me worry about defensive philosophy in the playoffs against higher powered offenses. The same thing that has been a pain point for this Bills team anytime they've played Kansas City or Cincinnati in the playoffs seems to be rearing its ugly head again in a matchup that I was really hoping you wouldn't see something like that, as you pointed out when you first gave your analysis of the defense and the helplessness of said defense. That needs to improve. And just, again, I'm not trying to be a doomer on the show because I'm usually very optimistic, but things like that don't give me optimism about Sean McDermott, Bobby Babich in the playoffs if you face a high-powered offense. And in the case of this playoff run, even if there's no Kansas City, even if there's no Baltimore, even if there's no Cincinnati, these other teams still have high enough powered offenses where if you're telling me New England, even Denver at points, we're going up against them on the road, I need to see more composure and a bit more aggression from a defense, but not an aggression that's just helpless, but rather like, we believe that we can defend the sticks. We're not going to sell out to avoid getting beat over the top because we're that scared. Like, we believe in our man coverage. I just want to at least see you try it and fail before you make an adjustment that harsh, before you just sell out to make the adjustment and all of a sudden you're getting pummeled on third down and the offense is moving with ease. It just doesn't feel like when you start a game and need a hot start, in the case of the Bills especially, Anthony, a team that thrives on game script and thrives on hot starts, when you offer another team, another offense, the opportunity to get down the field with ease, that is a trickle-down effect in a very bad way, and you're not facing one of the worst defenses in NFL history every week. When you get to the playoffs, the defense is tighten up. The pass rush is tighten up. You're going to get behind game script, and you might not be able to reclaim it, so I just don't feel comfortable after watching this game in the playoff viability of this defense again this year. I already didn't, but even more from a coaching perspective. And Anthony, I'll turn it back to you for final thoughts before we move on to this matchup.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. They did some creative coverage stuff on the back end that I liked at times. Even a little bit in the first half, but a lot in the second half when they were tying it in, I should say, with the blitzing and kind of playing on their front foot. I really think they have to do that more going forward. I said this before, Sean McDermott, it's so interesting because Sean McDermott, started his coaching tree, like learning under Jim Johnson with the Philadelphia Eagles. And Jim Johnson was like all gas, no brakes, playing on the front foot, like violence and blitzing and attacking. And granted, they were sound and technical, but it was more front foot. And I think McDermott's defenses, I don't think they necessarily lack aggression in like the physical sense. I see people all the time call them like soft and this and that. And I don't necessarily think that's true. But I do think Sean McDermott is much more tapped into like his 2015 Panthers than he was like his time learning under Jim Johnson. And I think that's fine to kind of go in that direction. But that Carolina Panthers defense was just so loaded. I mentioned this on Disguise coverage a couple weeks ago because I mentioned this point, but I went through, like, on that team, you had K'Wan Short, who was the second team All-Pro defensive tackle, double-digit sacks that year, I believe. Luke Kuechly was a first-team All-Pro linebacker. He was third in Defensive Player of the Year voting. Thomas Davis was also a first-team All-Pro linebacker. So you had two first-team All-Pro linebackers. And then Josh Norman was also first-team All-Pro and fourth in Defensive Player of the Year voting. They had 4 All-Pros and 2 guys finish in the top 4 for Defensive Player of the Year. And then Kurt Coleman made the Pro Bowl, if you value the Pro Bowl. But then you had a young and up-and-coming Shaq Thompson. You had a prime. I know people make jokes about him. Prime star Latulele was pretty sweet and kind of a monster with Carolina. Then you had like Charles Tillman, Charles Johnson. Charles Johnson was coming back from injury on the defensive line, but he had a sack in each of the playoff games they played in. Like, he was a perennial stud. He just got hurt that year. I just think the type of defense Sean McDermott wants to play, And I understand it, right? Like rely on the front four, win with your front is in terms of pass rush, in terms of penetration and kind of getting in the way of the run game and causing chaos. And then you get to play coverage. You don't allow anything behind you. You don't get beat deep. You don't give up explosives. You keep everything in front of you. Again, always having the numbers advantage in coverage. I just think not to kind of, broad painted with a broad brush too much, but I think somewhat of that defense is relying on having dudes in multiple places. And I don't think this defense necessarily does that or has that, especially with the injuries. Like
Yeah.
some of their better guys in theory are guys that are banged up and out or playing and still banged up. So that's not ideal. And when that happens, I do think you have to adjust a little bit. It's I hate to continue to use baseball analogies, but if
I'll
you're
never mind that. Don't worry.
that's fair. If it's 1-2 in the count, as they you got to protect the plate, shorten your stroke a little bit. You can't just go up there at a 1-2 count and treat it like, oh yeah, it's nil, it's nothing. Oh yeah, it's like 3-0. I'm ahead on the count. No, you have to treat it like 2 strikes. You have to protect. And I would have liked to see, to your point, a little bit of an earlier pivot, I should say.
Mhm.
Especially with how some of they were getting pressure to a degree in the first half that it doesn't feel like it, but there were times where they'd get pressure. Like Greg Rousseau would have a win, but there was just so much space for somebody on
Sanders
the
had a win,
outside.
and Burrow kind of slipped him at that. It was either
Oh yeah,
Sanders or Ogunjobi, the one where he was on skates, but he got through. I think it was
are you
Sanders.
thinking of the touchdown?
Yeah,
Because Sanders on the one where they blitzed, Sanders came like free off the edge, but Burrow sidestepped him, stepped
right.
up, and then dropped
Yeah.
over the top to Gesicki. Also, Mike Gesicki infuriates me. His
Oh,
just need to celebrate everything in a way that I'm just like, you're not that guy, and it drives me absolutely nuts. Not even the gritty, just the one actually was kind of funny. He catches the one on the sideline. He beats Hairston, and Hairston chucks him, and he like falls and slides into the Gatorade and knocks it over, and then comes all the way back to the field, gets out of the sideline, and celebrates like 15 seconds after it happened. I was like, I kind of respect the commitment there.
he's just happy to
Um,
be there, man.
he is.
He really
He's
is
doing
just
it.
happy to be there. But it's so annoying that he's that happy to be there because
It's
he
so
only
annoying.
plays for teams that spite the Bills. Like
Dude, yeah,
only.
it's so annoying. Yeah. Just only that. He's only those teams. So yeah, I wish they would have adjusted earlier and had a little more connection between rush and coverage and then played a bit more on the front foot. I also think they have to do that more in general. I don't think
Mm,
they're built to just sit back and play zone, especially spot drop. They got picked apart in this game again. But then even when they were playing man and
yeah.
stuff, it was tight, but they had better results. I don't think there's a great cure-all answer for this defense. They're injured. And even when they're healthy, I still do think there's some philosophy and identity pieces and archetypes and body types that are going to work against them this year, all in conjunction one another. And you're not going to fix that at this point in the season
No.
in 2025. So it's really about mitigating kind of your vulnerabilities or weaknesses, seeing what you can do. And I think, again, there's no cure all, but I do think them playing more on the front foot and playing more press and disrupting wide receiver timing and blitzing and attacking and just having more chaos to their defense instead of more of the kind of static, we're going to play what we're going to play type of deal. I think that would do them some good, especially while they got guys banged up. If you don't have the Jimmies and Joes, if you're not winning with talent, you have to win with scheme in some degree. And yeah, this one. I don't want to give them a pass, but I don't know the footing and the snow, and maybe they didn't want to get too up because they're like, oh, you know what? If we lose our footing, we get beat real quick. But they also still did play man, so part of me thinks it wasn't that. It was just not wanting to play that way more than
Yeah.
anything. So yeah, I think that's a fair point. It's something that I'm keeping my eye on. This has been a defense that in the playoffs hasn't felt there unless they're playing Kansas City and usually in the regular season more so than the playoffs. It hasn't felt like a defense that's been very like, hey, we put this game plan in to stop this offense. It feels very
Right.
much like we know who we are. We're going to come in and play our stuff and then we'll adjust from there. And it's like, okay, well, you gave up 17 points in the first quarter and a half. It would be nice to not do that. And they've been a good adjustment team. Even when they've struggled, like they'll adjust and you're like, okay, good. I wish you did that in the first quarter, or I wish you
Yeah.
had that game plan coming out earlier instead of. And again, I don't think there's any right way. There is something to be said for being more matchup based and opponent specific, and there is something to be said for throwing your fastball or playing dancing with the girl who brought you and
Mhm.
adjusting as need be. I don't think there's any right way to operate or build a team, but it just seems that they operate more on the back foot, more reactive than
Yep. And
proactive,
proactive.
and that's just tough, like you said, because when you're doing that against better teams, their offenses might kill you, or you're not scoring against their defenses. And all of a sudden, yeah, you're able to keep pace with Cincinnati a bit. even though you're down 21-11 at one point. But what if it's 28-3 or 20, I don't know, 24-7, and the
Mhm.
gap gets wider and wider, and then now you're out of your element because you are game script dependent. So I do think they need to operate for more high variance. They need more takeaways. They need more tackles for loss. And so I think playing on that front foot, and I'd rather die a quick death. I don't want to get
Yeah.
stabbed 100 times and bleed out slow like what's happening in the Cincinnati game. I'd rather you cut my head off and I die and I give the ball back to the offense to see what happens.
It feels hopeless. It just feels very demoralizing. And that's what really gets me frustrated, because it's not any take I've had on the show where I express my like lack of faith now in McDermott, coaching staff, whatever. It's not because I think they're bad coaches. I think it's because like this exact conversation, the fact that we have to see them get punched in the mouth enough times to finally adjust. And there are plenty of coaches that they're not the only ones in the league who have that philosophy, right? Like you said, they have their own identity, they stick to it. But I think it's also just almost this really, I don't want to call it tone deaf, but a point I made on the show a couple weeks ago is that the offensive defensive philosophies are disjointed from one another. They're not complementary of one another. And for a coach that preaches complementary football, you would expect a concerted effort to have those two things blend well. But like I've been saying, for such a game script dependent team like the Bills, that would mean that the defense should match it, and it doesn't. And things like that, where it's death by 1,000 paper cuts in the wrong way, put your offense in a substantially worse position to come out. So I just don't like seeing it, especially against high powered offenses. No one likes seeing it, but especially when you're playing a Joe Burrow, because if you want this team to win a Super Bowl, the competition's not getting easier. You need to go in with a concerted plan to take away what a team does best and make it known. Because if you can't do it, at least you tried. Live in that world, go back to what you did. But I want the adjustments to be made if a game plan that was really built to try and take away an offense's best weapon just simply didn't work, and you had to go back to what you know, versus this is what we know and it's getting pummeled. Now we have to adjust. Because even though they have been successful, again, just early holes and slow starts are a death sentence, and they've been a death sentence. And when you talk about all of their playoff exits, that's been the issue. I mean, you could look at last year's AFC Championship game. Josh Allen in the second half played a better game than the first half, but it still was too much to overcome ultimately because their defense gave up an early hole and the Chiefs didn't have to do nearly as much legwork to maintain a lead in the second half. And here you are, not in a Super Bowl, no more ring. And it's been the case every season. And I just can't see it. And it frustrates me more, Anthony, because like against Kansas City this year, and they were healthier, substantially healthier, but that was a concerted game plan. Like
Well,
it
and
never,
that's what I mentioned earlier. Like they've done
never
that,
felt that way.
the odd mirror stuff they've been doing for years against Kansas City. Like it's been like when they play Kansas City, it is more like, hey, we're going to do this to attack Kelsey. We're going to do this to attack Mahomes. Now, does that mean it works all the time? No. But you can tell that they're doing more of a concerted game plan. Again, baseball analogies, it is very like, hey, we're facing this lineup. They're not good against off-speed stuff, right? We're going to throw more changeups. We're going to throw more breaking balls. We're going to work at them that way. Instead of just being like, this team doesn't hit off-speed stuff really well, but we throw fastballs, so we're just going to throw fastballs. And if they hit them, then we'll figure out what to do. And it's like, well, it's the middle of the second inning and you're down 6-0.
Yeah.
And that's a hard hole to dig out of in baseball. Like, so what? That's what's so funny. Like they are game plan specific with the Chiefs, more so in the regular season than the playoffs. Part of me thinks that's because they show their hand in the regular season and then end up kind of emptying the clip too much come playoff time against a team like Kansas City. Conversation for another time. But that's what's so frustrating. Like you see it in their arsenal. You say, wow, like look at the odd mirror package, or look who they're using as the aggressive spy, or look at the split field coverages they're engaging in and why they're doing it. And then it just seems like other than that, more often than not, they're very content to just be like, yeah, we're just going to throw our stuff and whatever happens, happens, and we'll adjust. And it's like, oh, like that. That's a death
That
sentence at times.
philosophy.
And that's what's so I do think some of it is unfair. Like even what we're saying, like on the whole, this Bills team has been very good over the years, but unfortunately for them, football, and this isn't just unfortunate for them, it's unfortunate for any team. Football is a single elimination playoff. This isn't like, oh, they got us in game one, but you know what? We can course correct. We know what's up. We're going to win the series. If you have a bad day or something goes wrong and you can't overcome it in that one game, like you're done. And the margins for error are so slim and so small in the playoffs because it's one and done, because you're facing better teams. If you're not on point from the jump, you may never get the chance to get on point again and play. And I feel like even if they were to lose playing more proactive and more on the front foot, it wouldn't be as sour for fans because it feels like, to
Mhm.
your point, like they are dying a slow death, and it's like they're just kind of allowing it more so than taking it to the opponent, whether that's actually true or not. And it's all so very frustrating. But I think at the core of it is a lack of matchup specific or opponent specific defenses, and or not having the right type of defensive build to win in the playoffs, which
Yeah.
again is another conversation. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
all, hopefully when they get healthy, hopefully they get healthy, it just peters out. I'm not expecting them to turn it around and become this amazing stalwart group, but if they can get healthier and just become closer to the mean in a
Yeah.
lot of respects, I think it'll be fine, or at least I'm
Mhm.
hoping that.
And I mean, over the past few weeks, the pass coverage has tightened up enough where you could feel like this game was an outlier with the weather and the explosive offense they faced. But I just can't buy it when I've seen this type of performance against that type of team multiple times, and it just makes you wonder, like, when they get to the playoffs, what happens if this exact same scenario happens? And like, it's one thing, thin margins of error in general in the NFL. It's another one, you are like basically the glass cannon Mewtwo of the league, in the sense that like you have one style of offense that works really well, but it takes a lot of window dressing to get it to work. You don't really have the ability to get knocked back, because if you do, you don't have a pivot and you're going to get beat. And it's a very frustrating thing to watch, because it's almost like a team that I, it's not even a lack of self-awareness. It's just like an overconfidence in what they do defensively that just doesn't feel like right now, in my eyes and my personal opinion, is suitable for what you want to run offensively and suitable to win you a championship, unless luck is really on your side. And even then, like in moments in the playoffs where they've gotten extremely lucky, they couldn't capitalize it. Like, I feel like the fumble that we had, and this is the closest I ever came, besides 13 seconds, to feeling like we were actually going to beat the Chiefs in a playoff game. I think it was Mecole Hardman who fumbled at the goal line in the playoff game in 2024. Jordan Poyer punched it out. It was either Hardman or it was MVS. I can't remember which receiver. But when that happened, I was like, you just got a second chance. And then they pulled the game within a possession. And I was like, oh my God, luck's on their side. Finally, we could see a win. Then Tyler Bass misses wide right, and that does not happen. So it's like,
Oh, yeah, that's right. When the Bills were home in the divisional round, the AJ Klein game.
Yes. The AJ Klein game. Yes. Ugh.
Yeah. Not to kind of paint it as that. You know what's funny?
It's not his fault, dude. He was put in a terrible spot.
Dude was about to literally like pack it for a freaking cruise
Disney
vacation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
He had Mickey Mouse ears on his head when Sean McDermott called his phone.
That's wild. I came close a little last year when the Chiefs are driving and Phillips gets that sack on Mahomes. And I was like, oh my God, like they only got the field goal instead of a touchdown. The Bills are going to do the Chiefs thing to the Chiefs. Because you would see all the time the teams that would drive down and have a chance to score. Oh, they'd only get a field goal. Mahomes marches down. The Chiefs get a touchdown. Chiefs win. I was like, they're going to do the Chiefs. They're going to do to the Chiefs what the Chiefs do to other people. And then, don't see the corner blitz, Kincaid drop, yada, yada. I came close with that one. The Hardman one was nice. I just felt like things were just not on their side in that one. And I just felt like even if they got past that, it still wouldn't be. Right. That's a fair point. Yeah. So sports are dumb.
Sports are dumb. And all I can hope for is defensive adjustments to a point where, again, that proactivity. If you die that way, at least you died trying. And I'm not saying I'm not saying this defense doesn't actually try. That's more of an exaggerative claim on my part, but rather I just want to see a different approach where if you have a playoff matchup against a team, you treat that team like they're the Chiefs, and you don't just sell out game plans for the Chiefs that actually work in the regular season, but something different that a defense isn't expecting from you. And it's not that the philosophy they've built on defense wouldn't work in a perfect world either. I just feel like they need a perfect world to be perfect, to be very good. It's just not a complete or deep enough D unit for me to feel comfortable with living in a 4-man rush world when Joey Bosa, who has been very good, is fighting a hamstring injury. We don't know how effective he will be. And the other pass rushers you have are good complementary pieces, but not hunters, not the Myles Garretts, Max Crosby's, TJ Watts of the world. They're good enough and high floor guys, but guys that I just don't feel like you can survive a 4-man rush world with exclusively. So unless you get that blue chip talent, which their philosophy isn't helped by their draft position every year, I need to see a change. So it's just a lot of issues that hopefully get rectified, but I'm just going to hope for the best and see what happens.
Yeah, and hopefully they get, if Bosa can get a little healthier, if Ed Oliver can come back, we'll see how healthy he is. You start there and then, hope for the best.
Yep. Hoping for the best will now continue into our Patriots versus Bills preview. Again, This is going to be a tough one. I think now, after the first game, I would envision that the Bills have garnered a lot more respect for Drake May. I have been scared of the Patriots since Tom Brady retired because I just think it's an ancient evil that could awaken at any time. And I hate to say it,
They
folks,
have that old world magic.
they're back and I hate it. I hate it so much. Anthony, I say it all the time.
This ancient evil.
It ancient evil awakens like the Halo 4. I don't know if you played Halo 4, but like when Master Chief awakens the Didact, like that's what this felt like. When they lost that first game to them, that was Didact level shit. I was like, oh, we're back. They're back.
God, look what we've done.
Look at what we've done. Look at what has happened. And this is
very the first of the Alien reboots where they or not reboots, like prequels where they touch the goo for the first time and they break. It's like very much like, yeah, there you go, Prometheus. Thank you. I'm thinking of Covenant and there Prometheus. Yeah, where they touch the goo and we're all like, no, that's gonna be bad, but they don't know it, and then everything happens. You're like, oh no, it's inevitable, man. Yes.
Oh yeah, that movie was weird because they woke up the alien who just wanted to be asleep. And for whatever reason, he was just really, really mad at everyone and
because I've read that before of because he.
This is my fault. I apologize if we go over an hour now. I brought that up.
They wanted to essentially kill their creation or whatever, and then he sees the humans in front of him, so he's like, oh, I gotta take this out. Yeah, there were a lot of things that didn't make sense that I wanted to make sense, but I'll always see the goo and things moving in it, and I was like, oh, and then you know what's gonna happen because that's the movie, but you're like, no, just
don't touch the goo.
Just leave. And again, I know it's a movie, but there's so many things. I would never be able to work as an archaeologist or anything like that. Cause I'd go in, we'd open a door and I'd be like, nah, I'm out. They'd be like, yeah, but I'm like, no, no, I'm not. No, thank you.
I actually had a conversation. Last thing I'll say. I had a conversation with some friends a few weeks back, and we were talking about I forgot the name of it, but it's like a chained off or locked door somewhere in India. It's in a temple, and it's apparently cursed. There's something about it. I can't remember the name of it, but I was like, if I was working on site for that, I would go inside and just see what happens.
Oh, you're such a fool. What are you doing? Why would
you do that? What if there's riches beyond my imagination behind that door, Anthony? No, it's more curiosity because why has it been sealed all these years? What's there?
You're that person in the horror.
I'm the goo guy.
No, you're the horror movie guy. Hello, as you go closer towards the darkness instead of just being like, nah, I'm out. I'm leaving this.
Who's there?
Out of here. That's exactly it. Who's there? Let me go check all the doors. Let me walk into the basement. Let me go. Oh, it's completely dark in here. That's fine. Let me search around for the light for 10 minutes. Yeah, what are you doing? Come on.
Let's hide behind the chainsaws.
Yeah. Why don't we get into the running car? Yeah.
Are you crazy? Yeah. So anyways, Bills versus Patriots. And going back to this, it's a team that I think is here to stay. I don't think they're the best versions of themselves, but when you look at Mike Vrabel, who has had a lot of success in Tennessee, Drake May has taken that year 2 leap in stride. And I think it is equal parts his individual talent and ability, but Josh McDaniels just helping him be as efficient as possible. I mean, some of the reads this man gets to throw to are wide open, and that's not an indictment on Drake May. That's not a criticism as much as it's their offense is humming on so many levels in the passing game. And when you add in Stephon Diggs, who is very clearly healthy, Kayshon Boutte taking another, I know that one hurts. Kayshon Boutte taking a leap and being just a very viable boundary threat, and just the myriad of options they're getting open for Drake May. It's a great marriage, and their offense has been incredibly potent. Looking at the stats right now, they currently, over the past few weeks, are the 3rd overall EPA offense in football. I have it from week 10. It's just a unit you got to respect now. And the Bills took their lumps in Buffalo, lost by 3 points. Each Drake May started game against the Patriots versus Bills, it's been a 3-point spread. That's only 2, small sample. But to me, this is a very, very explosive offense when it comes to downfield passing, and Drake May's taking full advantage. And this is going to be a hands-full game, especially if you don't have a healthy Christian Benford or even Christian Benford at all. I don't understand it. I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole of all the
especially with being practice. His toe. It'd be anything, but if at least if I'd rather it be a hand. So his wheels are good, but his wheel, one of his wheels is not good. It's so how do you can't mitigate that? You can't not use your toe.
If it's turf toe, maybe I will open that locked door and just let fate fall upon me.
God,
but
I hate you so much. I can't believe you'd go in that door.
Yeah, I gotta
Locked
find
for
it
a
and send it
reason.
to you.
And it's
I
in
gotta
like,
find it and send it to you.
and it's in like a temple in like India or whatever, where like
Yeah,
people know
I
what's
think
up.
it was.
It's
Yeah.
not like you're just like, oh yeah, this place in New Hampshire. Yeah, it's probably whatever. No, like those people know what's up
Well,
over there, man.
New Hampshire is definitely known for their temples, but locked doors
No, I
behind
just
them
mean
with
like some
secret
like some
treasure.
creepy basement that all the neighborhood kids are like, oh, we don't go in that house because it could be a Sandlot scenario where you got it completely
Just,
wrong, but not if
just
it's like
picturing.
I'm not messing with some like ancient door that's in like Tibet or India or
Yeah,
Asia or like in Siberia or something that's just like, no, I'm
yeah.
not. No, for centuries
Just
it's been locked, and you're just like, no, I'm just gonna knock on it. I'm gonna open it up.
just imagining living in a world where like it's just everything's normal, but in New Hampshire there's just a mysterious temple for some reason.
I
Like
love
of
that.
all the places in the country,
At the center
just
of some like small town, and
oh
it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
like,
The Bass Pro Shop down the street. There's a Dunkin' Donuts. Just don't go near the temple.
don't
Just
go
don't go near the locked door. Okay.
to
So the Bills offense, or I'm sorry, Bills defense versus the Patriots offense. I mean, Anthony, in your eyes, what are you anticipating from them scheme wise? What are you expecting the Bills to kind of throw their way? And how do you feel about it relative to the Bengals game as it being a potential improvement or more of the norm? What is your opinion on this matchup?
the first matchup is annoying, but really, and I know we're focused on that side of the ball, but with how that game went, it really was like the Bills shot themselves in the foot with turnovers, and Drake May did Drake May stuff, or like Drake May did Josh Allen stuff, like
Yep.
things that you can't. Oh, Daquan Jones gets in free on first down, and he goes to sack May, and May kind of stiff arms him and just lets him hang on him, and sidearm spits one out to Diggs, who then makes a run after catch. Like the roll to his right by the sideline that he fires downfield that Diggs uncovers, and he's able to hit Diggs. Like there were a lot of plays that like are more just tip your cap plays than they are like, oh, like that was a bad call by the Bills, or oh, like what are they thinking on this play? They had stuff that worked. May just did stuff that Josh Allen does, where like the Bills offense gets beat or ganged up, and then it doesn't matter because Allen outruns somebody or jumps over somebody or makes some ridiculous throw, and you're just like if you're the Bengals and it's 14-3 and it's 4th and 4 and Josh Allen rolls to his right and BJ Hill doesn't buy the fake and he's right in Josh Allen's face, and all of a sudden Allen just whizzes one past the linebacker's ear hole right to Khalil Shakir. You're just like, we everything was there. Yeah, he scrambled and he escaped, but we were right there. He didn't have anywhere to go. He fires some like 2 percentile chance of a throw and it's a touchdown. I think that happened to the Bills a bunch in that game. It really was Drake May balling out and Stephon Diggs with 10 catches for 146 yards. I would like to see, in kind of in vein of what I mentioned earlier about the Bengals and going forward, I would just like more of a play on the front foot from the beginning type of game. Like I'm getting into, especially for Diggs, who, oh, is that what it's called?
That's what it's called. Yeah, I was looking it up on the side too.
Time out. One,
It's not guarded by cobras.
I was gonna say, is it guarded by cobras?
So apparently, I'm sorry. I know I'm derailing this. So the picture of it on Google, the door is granite covered with cobra etchings.
Okay, so guess what? Even more so, I'm out. If someone etched cobras on anything, I'm out. There's no way I'm going near that. What are you doing? And you knew this ahead of time? You knew about the cobra etchings?
I've known about this for like, probably like a year and a half. I
would never travel with you anywhere. You are
Anthony. It would be fun. It'd be an adventure, memorable.
You're just a walking like, yeah, let's stay at this like sketched out Airbnb in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, let's touch these temple ruins. Yeah, let's take this orb that we're not supposed to take, that the villagers have been guarding for 7 centuries. You're that guy. We're never going anywhere. We're never going anywhere, especially not India or New Hampshire.
Or New Hampshire, I was going to say.
I would like to see them, honestly, kind of, they played fine before. The Patriots don't have a good run game. I know the Bills' run defense is suspect, but that's kind of bad going against bad, and I think I would take the Bills' run defense over the Patriots' run offense. No jinx. I think the Bills are going to control explosives down the field, so it's really just, if you got to pressure Drake May, got to keep him in the pocket, and you got to get him down when you get the opportunity, similar to Josh Allen. So part of that as well, I'd like to see some blitzing, good blitz pass, kind of bring things from the edges. Taron Johnson, Jordan Hancock, some of the stuff they did in the second half against the Bengals.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see some pressure. I'd like to see some I say this a lot. I'd like to see some simulateds. I'd like to see some creepers. Give me some 6-man stuff, and then pair that with man coverage on the back end where you are either playing an off man, but you're not dropping back. You are like sitting at the sticks and you're ready to close in an instant, or we're playing press. And it could be a true press, but I'm even fine with the soft shoe. Like, let's just get into someone's kitchen, mirror them, and go with them. I think you need to restrict airspace. And if they get you, they get you. You tip your cap and you move on. But I really think the game plan the first time was fine. You just got by Drake May doing some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Stephon Diggs having a great game because he's a really good player, and then you turn the ball over on offense.
Yeah, that game got 23 points out of the Pats offense. And given the finale of so many of the games they've played, they've been a lot more explosive since then, with the exception of like the Atlanta game. They are a team that I think were held in check by the Bills defense, and it gives me some level of optimism that they can do it again, because I think really where it reduced down to was Drake May making a few big plays, but also turnovers from the Bill side on offense that put them in the short field. And also some of just those third down plays where it was long developing routes across the field and Trey White, couldn't get the step and couldn't get the at least like the tight enough coverage where May put it in the spot. And if you do have Benford in this game, again, we'll see what happens. If they do decide to have a man up a bit more on those types of patterns, maybe it works out well. But even if it doesn't, I'm excited to watch Max Hairston in this game because he was absent from the first matchup. And while Max Hairston is very much developing, for the bad that he's had, I think he's shown a lot of good, which is what we expected out of his rookie year. And the speed he brings for you on those crossing patterns, if he's ready to read and react in time, I think that could take a lot away from the Patriots offense. It could be a very big thing. And just looking at their metrics so far, because I was curious, because with Travion Henderson kind of taking the mantle when Ramondre Stevenson got hurt, but Stevenson's back now and they rely on him a ton. The rushing EPA for the Pats still isn't that great, even in the more recent weeks. And it seems to be a bit of a weakness from their offense that now you're facing them without Will Campbell, which is a very big loss given how much their offensive line was humming. I think that there is an opportunity for this Bills defense to replicate what they did in the first matchup. I'm not saying that they're going to shut Drake May down or shut the Patriots out. I think it's fool's gold to believe that they would actually be able to do that in really any way to anybody, in my opinion, especially one with the firepower that the Patriots have right now, especially with the emergence of Kyle Williams, who I think each week gets better, separator, downfield target that's just building his chemistry, and someone that I am a huge fan of and really wanted the Bills to draft is emerging for the Patriots as another weapon for them with what is probably the most vertical offense they're going to face that isn't Cincinnati at this point. So,
and they're so well coached. Like Josh McDaniels is just structure and rhythm and timing. And I think that's the scariest thing with Drake May is like when he came out, for me, it was like, oh, like I liked Drake May. And for me, it was more of a like when he gets good versus like an if. And part of the when was, when does he kind of rein himself in a little bit and play within an offense and not do like the crazy wild stuff that was fun at North Carolina, but also like, oh, you probably shouldn't do that all the time in the NFL. And it's happened in year 2. And I think a big part of that is Josh McDaniels. Like McDaniels has him playing like on time and in rhythm and, taking the 6 yards, taking the 7 yards. We run this concept, but he knows what to hit against this coverage for it versus this other coverage for it. And then still, like, he took a 1 yard sack on first down, or they got stopped for a negative 2 yard run on first down. Now it's 2nd and 12. Okay, he could run for 13 yards and then all of a sudden erase that, or he could do something explosive and kind of make it not matter anymore. That's the scariest thing I think is that pairing of May and McDaniels, because McDaniels, for as much maligned as he is as a head coach, he's a good offensive coordinator. He's a good offensive mind, and he's able to just run that side of the ball. And he's got a pretty fun toolsy quarterback to do it with. And he's already got him playing like an active quarterback and not just relying on the tools. And that's really fun for them and scary for everyone else.
And I think, you go back to his time with Mac Jones, like for the limitations Mac Jones had, he still had Pro Bowl season. I think it was at the Pro Bowl or he was just in the NFL top 100. But
Pro Bowl. Yeah, he wasn't in the top 100. That was I think it was after his rookie year.
85. Yeah. But his rookie year was good enough to get him to the playoffs. And it was kind of a similar situation. They played a softer schedule. Mac Jones was capitalizing towards the end of the year.
Was that the year they beat the Bills in Buffalo when he only threw the ball 3 times?
Yes.
And I went to that game. That was such a terrible time.
Oh God.
It was so cold. It was like -5. It was frigid. It was Monday night. It was frigid. And they passed again. Mac Jones was 2 of 3. Damian Harris had that 64-yard touchdown. The Bills 14-10.
It was 14-10, yeah. Because I remember, I think it was Beasley caught a touchdown pass. I don't know. Either way, they
played him in the playoffs. So kick rocks.
Yeah, but it's a new team, and Josh McDaniel, with the track record he has, he's having it again with May. But this time, it's a far more talented of a prospect now converted into full-time professional quarterback that I think the Bills are just going to have their hands full with, because even when you win, you lose at certain points. It's what, we've gotten accustomed to watching it with Josh Allen. I think that the Pats have theirs in Drake May. I don't think it's crowning him too early or thinking that he's like another flash in the pan, because some of the things he's doing, I mean, even when there's good coverage, he's leading receivers really well down the field with very accurate deep passes, to a point where that becomes a much bigger problem than someone who, let's say, all right, the scheme failed and someone was wide open, but like it was an underthrown ball. You could kind of see the writing on the wall. Like when you talked about Tua in the few years that he was emerging as a quarterback, and it's like, okay, Tua's playing well, but we can see that this deep ball doesn't have zip. Like there's you can exploit the arm strength deficiencies, but now you have a quarterback.
You didn't have to actively poke holes in that. You could just watch and be like, oh, this might not be sustainable.
Yeah. Whereas with Drake May, it's more like if Drake May isn't getting the deep ball off, it's probably just something of his own accord, but not because of his arm strength. Rather, maybe the footwork wasn't there, or maybe it was a miscommunication. Those are the things that scare me a lot more. And it's why I don't think he's going away as much as you need to be able to prevent them from going vertical and just, again, confining him and stressing him out. Because if their rushing attack doesn't have that firepower to be able to be a consistent thing that they lean on for efficiency, and it's really just deep ball efficiency. If you take the deep ball away, I think you could keep the game in control, and that's what the Bills want, because I think they're realistic about what Drake May is and what this Patriots offense is, which is one of the best passing EPA offenses in the league. And it's going to be interesting, but I just pulled this comment up because I don't think Bernard's going to start over Thompson. In fact, I don't think Bernard's going to play. I think it's wiser for them to give him another week. I think Thompson has been good enough and held the role down and has stabilized that unit. And I just don't see a reason to kind of force Bernard back if you're thinking playoff push and a healthier version of him can help. So I had this up for like 20 minutes, but yes.
I was going to be like, do you still want that up?
Yes, I take a while to get to comments sometimes, but I think Thompson would be the starter. Even if Bernard's good to go, I think it's going to be Thompson. But yeah, I anticipate nothing really dramatically different. I don't anticipate the Bills blitzing a lot in this game either, especially if Joey Bosa's back. They had a lot of success with their pass rush in the first game, and that was a game that didn't have Ogunjobi or Michael Hoyt to begin with. So it's a lot of that same cast of characters. I think it's going to look basically identical. It's a matter of just, can you mitigate those off-script plays and stress them a bit more vertically? Because if you can, maybe there's an opportunity there for you to just keep the game in control where they're not putting up 30 points on you. But it's a tall task, because I think the Patriots have found their stride. And even though I would argue we're one of the best teams that they've played all year, this defense hasn't given you a lot of reason to be optimistic in big matchups.
Fair. And it's also to your point, like, you didn't have Ogunjobi at that time, probably looking different a bit at the second level too. The safety rotation wasn't what it is now with Poyer and Hancock. And also, for better or for worse, I know it's not, probably people aren't going to care what I'm about to say because of what happened in the Bengals game. This is Sean McDermott's defense now. It really has been since the halftime of the Falcons game. So maybe that helps, maybe that doesn't. But I do think there are several variables or wild cards that make it like kind of different. I wonder, like, maybe it's better, maybe it's worse. But to your point, and kind of what I mentioned earlier as well, like, you had a fine game plan before. You don't really have to tweak it. If a couple of those Drake May alien plays just end up as incompletions or sacks, this game is a lot different. Even if you just take away the one turnover from Allen, the interception to, I think, Marcus Jones, like closer to the red zone or the high red zone, take that away. Maybe the Bills get 3 on that game, and all of a sudden it's 23-23 instead of 23-20. You never know. I know that wasn't the exact time that it happened. I'm just saying from a score perspective. But yeah, man, I'm stressed for this one because I could easily see the Bills winning and I can easily see them losing, and I'm angry either way.
Oh, this game's a coin flip to me. It's been a coin flip to me since the first game.
Their DVOA, though, is like, I know we'll talk about the Pats defense in a minute. Like, their DVOA, which takes into, situation and context, like to a degree, like EPA does. But DVOA also measures opponent quality. That's the one thing that's in my head for everything with the Pats is like, okay, but like they really haven't. And I know they beat the Bills, but they haven't played anyone like good. Like even Cincinnati, like they struggled against the Burrow-less chaseless.
Or
Bengals.
Tampa Bay with that didn't have Mike Evans or Chris Godwin or Bucky Irving or
and
like starting O-linemen.
And it's kind of just like, okay, like what do you do to combat that if you're the Bills? Because it's not this team. It's they keep winning, but they're not this team that's blowing you away, like blowing anybody away. You easily could have beat them last time. You can make the argument, and it's not even a big devil's advocate leap. You can make the argument that, like, we beat ourselves. They didn't beat us. So it's kind of just like, stay the course. Maybe you throw in, some more blitzes, or because he's mobile and can do some stuff, you got to do some odd mirror. And if you can get that, I think that's also where like having an rushing offense that isn't very potent, you have the opportunity to win more on early downs. And if you can get 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, and then tap into pressure packages and odd mirror stuff or whatever, granted, they did some of that in the Bengals game, and they didn't pair it with the right coverage on the back end and got beat. So it's all a very fine line. But I do think there's a very easy path for victory for this Bills team. It's just a matter of like kind of if the ball bounces the right way, which is such a stupid thing to say, but that's where we are.
Yeah. And it's one of those matchups, at least when we're talking about the Patriots offense, where I think even if, like, look, I think that this is a game that you obviously don't want to lose it. I don't want them to lose it, mainly for what the game represents as far as the division. The division's over if you lose this game. But if you can at least put up a good enough defensive performance like you did in the first game and just keep it into like a reachable, like this is a 1-score toss-up. When you talk about playoffs and potentially seeing them again, if it even gets to that, I think there's a morale in there, because I feel like even if you beat the Patriots this week, getting the division is still an extremely difficult task. A lot has to go your way to a point where you could win this and still not win the division. So I'm kind of over that at this point, only because in my eyes, what good has it been the past 5 years to get you a Super Bowl versus now, besides road games? And it's like, if they got to play on the road, they got to play somewhere, and they could still put up their best football of the year. So I'm kind of sitting here like, I want the division and I don't want the Pats to get it. But also, like, if you win, it's cool to win and just get that morale boost. But if you lose, I'm also like, if you kept it a close game, I think just at the end of the day, that's something you take with you when you see him again, and more motivation. And that's cope. It's totally cope. But it's something that I do think resonates with the team, and it's something that I'm hoping for. But I really hope the Bills can actually be on the right side of the 1-score game this time. And I want to pivot it to the other side of the matchup. So we'll talk about this Bills offense versus a Pats defense that limited their rushing attack last time and has been probably the strength of their defense, their rushing defense. Their interior defensive line, in my eyes, when fully healthy, is one of the best in football. I mean, I talked to you, Anthony, about how much I love Milton Williams, but I don't believe he's playing in this game. Christian Barmore.
No, he's on IR,
still on IR.
Will Campbell is.
Barmore wasn't at their practice today, but I don't know if that was some like personal reasons absence or an illness. I don't know what the situation was with that. Tonga has been a revelation for them, and they've eaten off that. Their interior is extremely good. Without Milton Williams, I still have worry about this Patriots defense being able to quell the Bills rushing attack, unless the other key injury that could potentially be in this, Robert Spillane, doesn't play, which there are noticeable drop-offs in the Pats rushing EPA per play if he's not on the field. He is a commander. It is, to me, it's the biggest matchup in the last game they played against each other. It's the biggest one in this. They need to be able to control the game on the ground. It's just how the Bills offense works. You don't want to end up in a situation where you have to throw the ball substantially down the field, even if you have Dalton Kincaid back, which you do, even if you get Josh Palmer back, that's a maybe. I don't feel fully comfortable with the Bills having to go in a shootout with a Patriots secondary that contains what I would view as one of the best corner tandems in football in Gonzalez. And I just totally blanked. Please help me, Anthony. Why did I just blank on him? He's a very good corner, and it's making me really angry.
Carlton Davis.
Thank you. I'm so sorry. I almost said Christian Benford, and I stopped myself before I did. So thank God I did.
Breaking news: Bills trade Benford to Pats after trade deadline.
Please don't even put that into the universe. But it's not a situation where you want to be throwing down the field consistently against the Patriots. And I think when you attack them with a Milton Williams-less interior defensive line, you have a chance to exploit them. And I think if they can, I think there is a path for this Bills offense to control the game. At the very least, make it more efficient where they're going down the field, taking time off the clock, and at least ending their drives with points, even if it has to be 3. Obviously, you want to complete it, but even against the Bengals and in recent weeks, I think Joe Brady has done a much better job as far as, again, that kind of proactivity I was begging for, where, 2 running back sets and using Ty Johnson as a pass catcher a bit more and using James Cook as a pass catcher a bit more and play action layering off of the different looks. It feels like they have not sat in their own ways too much. Against Pittsburgh, they spammed, the run as much as they could, but it was working, and I can forgive them for that. But even then, you saw some looks where you're like, okay, I'm more comfortable with this. But I think this past game against the Bengals gave me a lot more optimism that Joe Brady playing ahead really trying to pull things out of the hat for a December playoff run and hopefully January playoff run,
Mhm.
it just makes me feel a little bit better about facing the Pats this time around. But Ant, I want to turn it back to you. I know we're running a bit longer.
Okay.
What do you think about this matchup, and what are you expecting?
Oh, for me, this one's kind of like cut and dry. It starts with the Bills' run game, like you said. Like if the Bills can't run the ball, everything gets tough for them. Like that's not just for against the Pats. It's going to be for this like week in, week out. And say as that comment there from Nick talks about, yeah, I think Mina Kimes talked about it. Like since week 9, their run defense is 31st in success rate. Even if you kind of look at the numbers, like their DVOA as a defense in general, like EPA per play, they're like around top 10, top 11 in pretty much everything. But then, like from an overall DVOA standpoint, they're like the middle 20s, like 25th, 26th. Their run defense drops to like 16th. Like opponent strength matters a lot, and they've been a little wonky recently. So it starts with whether or not the Bills can run. And then kind of tying into that linebacker comment, yeah, like their linebackers can defend the run, their spine can defend the run,
Mm,
but I'll take Dalton Kincaid against anybody in their spine at the second and third level all day in this game. And that's kind of where like the offshoot starts. Like, so they have to be able to run the ball because they're the Bills, and that's what happens every single week. But I would love to get me Dalton Kincaid matched up on whether it's Spillane, whether it's Ellis. If Spillane is out and Tavai is in there, cool, give me Tavai. Even if it's passing downs, I'll take him against Mapu. I'll take him against the
mhm,
safeties. I'll take him against Woodson. I'll take him against Hawkins. Partly because I think that's where the advantage is. Kincaid against any of those guys is advantage Kincaid. And then also, I think the wide receivers against the or against the Pats corners is advantage Patriots. I think,
mm,
whether even if Palmer plays and he's good to go, Palmer and whoever against Gonzalez and Davis, I think it's advantage Gonzalez and Davis. So attack the spine through the air, get Kincaid on those matchups. I think this has to be a game where you run the ball successfully and Dalton Kincaid has 7 catches for 110 yards or, 10
mhm.
catches for 98 yards, something like that. I think this has to go through Kincaid. And then from there, how much does Josh Allen have to put on the cape? And kind of be a Super Saiyan and do Josh Allen stuff, or can he play within the system and scheme and go from there? I think also an interesting wild card is, at this point, everybody's talked about it, like the Joe Brady predictability. And if it's not broken, don't fix it. Sometimes it's great and it's funny, and sometimes it's not. The Patriots had the Bills so well scouted that
Yeah.
first time around, like when the Bills were running the like blast counter and some of their run concepts, like the Patriots were just on it. Like they knew where the ball was going. They recognized the presentation. They're playing the odds, and they attacked. I think it's going to be really important for Brady to push different buttons and turn different dials in this game to kind of flip some of their tendencies on their head, to use some of their presentation telegraphs and do something different out of it. Marrying more of the run and pass with their play action concepts that marry or when it look exactly like where you present and be like, oh, here comes duo, or here comes mid zone weak. Oh, here comes
Mhm,
blast counter, and it's a play action, or it's a different same presentation but a different run or different some kind of something. It could be a straight up pass, play action, whatever the hell, just something different. I think tweaking their presentation, tweaking some of their rates and ratios and tendencies and tells and telegraphing formationally or down and distance wise will go a long way, because also tied into this, the Patriots, again, had them well scouted early on. So that means, one, that's bad for that game in and of itself. Two, they played them once, so that helps. Three, they had the bye week last week. So they get an extra
yeah.
opportunity to scout a team that has questions around predictability and tendency. I think it's going to be very important for Brady on that side to, again, push some different buttons, turn some different dials, pull some different levers. Not a ton. You don't have to completely revamp everything. And you're under your first down pass rate is 36.3. Flip it and make it 78.3 or whatever. It doesn't need to be that, but you just got to do enough to create some variability and create more doubt and make them have to play on the back foot a little bit and not have you so well scouted and not feel confident pre-snap. Have them feel confident pre-snap and flip it on them. And now all of a sudden they're like, oh, our game plan is rough. What we had scouted isn't kind of what we thought it was going to be. And throw that in there and see what you can do. But on the other side of that, it might all be irrelevant if they can run the ball and people move, because Barmore isn't 100%, Milt Williams isn't in there, and Tong is in there,
Mhm.
but he's not
That's true.
100%.
Yeah.
If you can people move, cool, do your thing and rock.
Yeah. It's if you can run on the ground, the predictability doesn't matter to me if you're moving people, because then you could just tell they're not afraid to telegraph. In fact, I feel like this offense thrives on telegraphing what they do, but it still
Well, they're going to
works.
do it regardless. And if it
Yeah.
works, it's awesome. If it doesn't, everybody's going to grab their torches and pitchforks and want Joe Brady's head. Like
Mhm.
that's just who they are. And
Yeah.
again, it works and it also doesn't. And you kind of just, which one do you get?
I think you can live in the middle at times, though. I mean, when it
Yeah,
comes
well,
to
they
how
should. You
predictable they
could
can
also
be.
do more play action, and they don't more often than not, as you and I have talked about in the DMs for a year and a half.
I want to hit the microphone against my head. It drives me so crazy.
It just makes so
It's
much sense.
But
It just
it
makes
makes
too much
sense
sense.
because when you have a team selling out to take a lane away and all of a sudden you have a deep drop from Josh Allen, that's going to strike fear into a heart of anybody, no matter who your receiving core is.
Especially if
I
your
could be out
passing
there.
game is struggling, it's a way to help your passing game, and their passing game in structure, I know what the
Yeah.
EPA numbers say, but the tape, how often do you see Josh Allen drop back and go, "Okay, there's my guy, boom. Okay, drop back. Oh, number 1's not there. Okay, let me go number 2." More often than not, it's Josh Allen drop back and run around until he figures something out and then go from there, or it's a lot of the underneath stuff's working and the defense is throwing up on themselves. Oversimplifying, but James says we're moving people to New Hampshire in the comments.
Yeah, the New Hampshire Temple of Doom. It's like the EPA says they're passing offenses production, but what does your heart say? What does your soul say? What do the voices in your head say? For me, it's just again, I think they're really good when they're heavy. I think they have the tight end multiplicity to get the blocking off, but also be able to beat threats in the receiving core. But that's exactly it. Like the ball faking and giving Josh Allen a deeper drop, the ability to see the field, the ability to extend because he has a wider bit of space to work with if he needs to use his legs. I know the Texans game, they tried it and it just didn't work, but the Texans are just different. I think that defense is simply different. I don't think there's a single offense in the league that isn't going to have problems with them. I think in a game like this, though, Harold Landry's back practicing. Is he 100% as an edge rusher? Like that's another thing. Like if the defense is banged up and this is an opportunity for Josh Allen to create, I think he can have success creating because he might have just a little bit more speed than a banged up defensive lineman. And that's not an indictment on the talent of guys like Landry or Barmore. Rather, it's just if they're not 100%, it's hard to keep up with someone like Josh at his frame and the speed he plays with. But that's why I think the PA rate going up is just I'd say it every time, but it's the most immediate benefit to what they could do. And what I talked about earlier with their tight ends, again, they've shown that they're willing to throw the ball to Jackson Hawes or Dawson Knox in a pinch. And it's not like they're this hyper blocking Lee Smith that gets no action in a year, but rather like Jackson Hawes has multiple touchdowns on the year, has been kind of a goal line threat for them. Granted, it hasn't always been by design, but there's been an effort to get him the ball. They've used him on play fakes where Josh boots out and he's the option right near the sticks. I just feel like there is a path for their in structure passing game to improve even in this game alone, despite the good corners. And it doesn't live with just their receiving core, but also too, again, those two running back looks and their ability to throw out of that, but also hand off if they want to. Getting a guy on the field like Shavers in addition to that, where you're probably not throwing to him, but he can lay the hammer down as a blocker in addition to having those backs on the field. These are the things that I feel like are immediate tweaks for their offense you might see against the Pats that can help them. And if this Pats rushing defense is struggling, I mean, being able to move the ball on the ground and then layering your pass off of how successful you are, I feel like that is a potential path for the Bills to take control. I'm not saying will, I won't speak in absolutes as my camera for whatever reason just got blurry, but rather just it's an opportunity for you to kind of demonstrate that we've learned our lesson from the last one. We're not going to be as predictable. We have this answer for what is a very good defense, and we can move the ball, which they even did last time. In the last matchup, they moved the ball. Just finish the drives and try to stay ahead, because this is not a team with a coach that I think is extremely one of the better coaches in the NFL. It's not a team that's just going to let you do the things you want to do and telegraph it. They're going to punish you for having tendencies. So be ahead of your own tendencies. Play proactively in any way you can. If that's more play action, if that's more variance to your alignments or what you're doing out of your alignments, direction. I just want to see that, because I feel like this should be a game that I don't want to fear this game. I don't want to fear this team. I think they can win it, but if they stick to their guns too much, to a hubris that is not one that we're fans of, I feel like the guns are going to jam, Anthony.
That's such a good hubris is such a good word. I love hubris.
I love hubris.
That's such a great word. That's like
that's
high school AP English or whatever English for me, reading like the Odyssey, or I always confuse the Odyssey and Iliad. Thank you. I always confuse them both. Well, technically they're kind of like very similar.
Aren't they one story? Like one continual? I don't remember.
Somebody, I need someone in the chat. Someone in the chat came up with that temple. Nick, you came up with the answer for that temple in India. Let's figure out.
Nick is the random facts guy. I appreciate him. They're both written by Homer Simpson, believe it or not.
They are written by the same Homer Simpson. It's crazy that he just left that and then was like, "Oh, I'm just going to go work in that nuclear plant." And just
that's what happens when you're from New Hampshire, dude.
What a diverse guy. Yeah, but he never went in the temple.
Never went in the temple.
You
No,
would
he's
go in
not
the
me.
temple.
He's not built like me.
I can't believe you're going to the
Anthony,
temple.
you mean to tell me if you're on vacation and you're
Absolutely
just
not.
if you saw the
There's
Cobra
no
door,
scenario.
you wouldn't be curious. You wouldn't even go up and take a picture of it.
Connor answered. I was right. The Iliad and Odyssey are two different stories, but they're connected and part of the same tradition. They both involve Odysseus. Well, in different.
I just
stories.
like that this is the comment following it where it's just like now we're just learning about New Hampshire. That's awesome.
That's if I remember correctly, too, to Connor's point, I think the Iliad is the story of the Trojan War, and the Odyssey is the story of Odysseus's journey back home after fighting in the Trojan War.
Right.
Odyssey's fantastic. I've only read the Iliad once. I've read the Odyssey twice.
I get Odysseus confused with Oedipus Rex, the other horrible story.
I love that. I love that story. Not the story itself, but the idea that whatever your fate is, you can't escape your fate, because everything Oedipus's dad does is what pushes that fate forward and make it happen. But just the idea of, you can never escape your fate no matter what you do. Yeah, Oedipus Rex is a good one too. Oedipus and Hubris. We are just firing on all cylinders.
It's all Friday night chats.
To answer your question, no, absolutely not. There is no scenario where you're like, oh, you're on vacation, you meet it. Absolutely not. There is no, I don't care where I am. If I'm in the States, if I'm in Europe, if I'm in Asia, wherever, if I'm in the Caribbean, it does not matter. If you present me a scenario where like everybody says not to go down that alley, everybody says not to go in that neighborhood or that door or that house or that room, I'm out. I'm not doing it. I'm not going to be.
I'm also being quite
movie or a horror story. I'm not going to be.
I'm also being tongue in cheek about it. I don't think I actually would either, but I just think it's such a fascinating thing.
No, I think you would.
Exists.
I think there's a good. I do think there is a part of you that would be like, should we see? That's it. I think at the very least you would be like, it's probably fine, or should we go in there? And I'm dead set 100% no from the jump. You're not. There is no inkling of. Well, not even close for me. And I think for you, there is at least an inkling of like, I mean, and there's none for me.
They can call me Indiana Jones because I just like exploring temples of doom. But I can say I actually can. Yeah, I can trace this, and this will be my last thing I say before we get to the very, very final point before we sign off. But I can trace it back to, for whatever reason, in like second grade through fourth grade, I had a really deep fascination with the pyramids of Egypt. Because I remember someone telling me about how there were like secret tunnels and like passages that people haven't discovered.
Yeah.
And I think that's the coolest thing ever. And this was
agreed. And I'd love to play a video game about it or watch a movie about it, but I'm not going in there.
What coincides with it was I was very much in my Pokemon Ruby phase at the time during the Reggie challenge where you had to read Braille and open the doors. Did you play Pokemon Emerald or any of them?
No. But I know bits and pieces from people who did, so I'm with you.
Missing out. But you literally had to learn Braille to open the doors. So there was like a big like exploration thing pairing with that just made me like, if there was ever like a door with Braille on it, man, I don't know. I think I'd want to go see if Regirock's in there. I want to go see, like, it's just so, I'm not actually going to walk into a temple and we're this is not going to ever actually happen in life, so don't worry, people. I'm not putting. But
it doesn't matter. The angling shouldn't be there. That shouldn't be in your thought process, Joe. Oh man, but teach their own. No judgment. But yeah, damn.
That sign can't stop me because I can't read. But anyways, moving on to close it out, Anthony. The final thing. Because I said this in our topics, and it's one thing that I've been thinking about. But what would a win or a loss mean for you individually? Your assessment of the team for the rest of the year. They win it, how confident are you? If they lose it, how pessimistic does that make you? Where are you at with the outcome of this game?
It depends on how the win or loss occurs. Results are important. Obviously, wins and losses matter. I'm not saying they don't. But process is very important to me, like how you got there, win or loss, because it indicates future wins and losses and sustainability and all that jazz. So for me, it comes down to how they either win or lose. If they win, cool. It also kind of go into my like dark horse theory that I think the Patriots are going to lose to the Bills, Ravens, and Dolphins, and the Bills are going to win out and win the AFC East. But logistically, that's still going to be tough. But if they win, I'm fine. It's not going to change anything because I think the Patriots are a good football team. Before the season, I thought they would be second in the AFC East, and I thought they would compete and compete for a playoff spot and make the playoffs. I thought this was like a 9 to 11 win team. And honestly, if things all fell right, I could see them being a 12-13 win team. So them being good this year isn't holistically surprising. That being said,
Mhm.
I do believe in the quality of opponent and kind of how they played. I don't think they are a true top 1 or top 2 seed in the AFC. And if they end up that way, cool, good for them. If the Bills lose this game, I'm not like, oh man, imagine if they see the Patriots again in the playoffs, because I think they can beat the Patriots in any moment. It's not like, well, any given Sunday, anybody can lose. I think they're a better team than the Patriots, and I think they can beat the Patriots. Now, will they? We'll see. Same thing on the other side. If they lose this game, yeah, I'm not distraught. I'm not going to get too high if they win. I'm not getting too high if they lose. The only thing that's going to stress me out a little bit if they lose is being like, okay, does Philly figure it out and get in your way a little bit? Like,
Mm.
you are going to make the playoffs, right? Do things kind of fall off? No, because you should be able to take care of Cleveland and the Jets, even if you lose to the Pats and Philly. But I don't want to play those games. I don't want to play the seeding game and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of logistically where I would be stress wise if they lose this game. But no, for me, it's really going to come down to the type of loss they have, the type of win that they have, either way, and then kind of just going from there.
Yeah, I think those are great points. And I'm sitting in a spot where I think this team in December, in Sean McDermott and Josh Allen's tenure, has given you enough of a sample size to be confident that this is the month where they quote unquote lock in. Just the record that they have, some of the offensive performances that they've had in the past, even in down years, have
Mhm.
been better in December. It just seems like a time where the team really centers itself and tries to play its best ball. And I think they're going to put on a performance in New England where, at the very least, you look at one component of their offense or defense and say, I think when they get to the playoffs, they'll be able to win games there. If they put up a complete performance in Foxborough, I think they will win. But it needs to be complete. It just needs to be complementary. You can't have self-executed errors, because I think a Mike Vrabel coach team is a very sound fundamental team, very penalty avoidant, very tight. If you make mistakes and show weakness from your own mistakes, they will pounce on it and they will beat you. So you need to play a tight football game. I know that's obvious, but it's more apparent when you play a team like them, because I feel like it's just a rigid, regimented team, and that's how they win. That's how they make their money, man. And especially when you're talking about how they've bested the schedule, which it hasn't been great teams, but also when a team gets matched up with a schedule like that, you always expect them to drop one, right? You
And
always
they're not
expect them to.
beating themselves. They're not doing
No,
stupid stuff. And it's like,
yeah,
and ironically, it started out that way. They lost to the Raiders. Their 2 losses are to the Raiders, who are black,
Steelers.
and then they threw up all over themselves against the
Mm-hmm.
Steelers. Multiple red zone turnovers from May in the offense.
Yep.
They should only have 1 loss, and then that 1 loss would be to the Raiders, where you're still like, how did you lose that game? But to
Yeah.
your point, you lost those 2, but they managed to not lose any others, even though the schedule has been great and teams that they played have been injured and banged up. Like, they've managed to not do
Yeah.
that. And I also think part of that is like, do you regress to the mean negatively in any way in that regard? Do you start to turn into a pumpkin a little bit more as things go down the
Right.
stretch? Like, because it's hard to always be that buttoned up. But again, to
Yeah.
your point, Vrabel's that kind of coach where he keeps you buttoned up, and
Yeah.
McDaniels is the type of coach that keeps you buttoned up. Like, Tennessee was good. Vrabel's tenure ended in Tennessee because they decided to trade AJ Brown and get rid of all the dudes on that team.
I I'll never understand that. But even you look at some of the wins that the Pats have had during the stretch, and those, like, well, I can't believe they lost that game with the schedule, like the Falcons and the Bengals games. Like the Falcons game, that was the game where Drake May had the fumble return. I think he fumbled, James Pierce or Jalen Walker returned it, not for a touchdown, but for a big gain. And then Drake May had the red zone turnover, and the Falcons just beat themselves more because they couldn't
And
capitalize.
then the Falcons
And
miss a field goal to tie it, or
yes,
they
they
miss the
did.
kick. Yeah,
And
right.
it was the difference of the it was a kick, and it was the difference in points for the game. And then you look at the game they played against the Bengals. Drake May has a pick six, overthrows a receiver, and then Joe Flacco spots him 6 more points with the worst throw of the season by far from any team I've ever seen. I saw that defender. It was Marcus
I
Jones
saw.
bearing down. It was the most obvious thing. He stared down, I think it was Chase Brown, for a solid 2 seconds before he threw the ball. Still mad about it. But that's what I mean. Even when they punch themselves, when they shoot themselves in the foot, the team they're playing does it again and spots it. So that when you talk about like it's a bounce going your way, it's a luck factor, that is a part of it too. But credit to the Patriots, man. They won those games, and Mike Vrabel has gotten them out of those ruts where they
And,
easily could have
and,
lost.
and there's something to be said for putting yourself in the right position to benefit off of those bounces. That's when it stops
Mm-hmm.
becoming luck. And it's like, if you're consistently generating that luck, then it starts to be like, okay, what are they doing to do that? And it's like, well, they're sound. they don't beat themselves up. They know where to be and when to be there, and they're able to kind of reap the benefits of what they potentially sow.
Yes. And in this case, it's the Bills having to avoid being in that position, playing a tighter game, no goal line fumbles, none of that, please. I
No
can't watch
turnovers.
it.
And even
No
tying into that
turnovers.
too, you win the red zone. You get into the red zone, you score a touchdown. New
Yes.
England gets into the red zone, you hold them to a field goal. Sometimes it's as
Yeah.
simple as, hey, they got to the red zone 3 times, and 2 out of 3 they got field goals. And we got to the red zone 3 times, and we scored a touchdown all 3 times. And sometimes
Mhm.
it's as simple as that, done and dusted, and you don't worry about it. All those margins against a well-coached team that doesn't beat themselves matter. All the adages of, 2 or 3 plays are the ones that really decide a game. Who won the red zone battle? Who won the turnover battle?
Yeah.
All those little things right there are, when you're playing a team like that, or when you're playing a good team or a well-coached team, those are what swing the pendulum positively or negatively. And it's not swinging it all the way over here, swinging it over there. It's just swinging it a little bit this way or swinging it a little bit that way, because that's what happens when you play good teams or well-coached teams.
Yeah, and simply put, don't beat yourself, play a tight game. And if you can do that and win this game, I have a lot of optimism for the rest of the season because they're going up against a Cleveland team that I don't think is a joke at all. Even at this point, I do not think they're a joke at all.
So great. Their defense is still good. And Garrett's such a monster.
Their defense is incredibly good. Philadelphia, I don't look lightly on. I don't even look lightly on the Jets right now with nothing to play for in the final game at Highmark Stadium. Like
In the 90s unis, like,
yeah.
oh man,
Like,
oh boy.
You think the Jets are going into that game thinking they don't want to spoil the very last game in Highmark, unless that game doesn't matter, which I would love, because then I wouldn't care at all. I mean, that would just be more.
Well, I'm hoping they do that to the Pats. I'm hoping they want, like, nah, let's give it to the Pats. Like, let's knock them off. Oh man, they're spiraling a little bit. They lost to the Bills. Oh, they lost to the Ravens. Let's knock them down. Yeah, I'll get that.
That feels like Miami's thing to do. I think Miami will try to do that. But all this to say,
Miami's gonna push for the playoffs, man. Like that's a super kind of fun, intriguing type of thing.
Miami's trying to go on the run that everyone thought Cincinnati was going to have, and that's kind of where they're at now. We'll see, but they're not a pushover either. They beat us, but also like they're playing much better football over the past 2 months. That's not the same team the Pats saw early in the year. But the thing is, that game's in Gillette. How much of a difference that makes?
They also almost lost that game to the Dolphins. The Dolphins threw up on themselves to end that game. That was a very bad
stepping out of bounds.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know.
It was so close, and then they're not managing the clock great. And so much for Miami is going to matter this week. They play the Steelers on Monday Night Football. I know people probably don't like this. If the Bills win in New England this weekend, I am 1000% rooting for the Dolphins on Monday night, because I want the Dolphins to believe, and I want the Dolphins to absolutely take out the Pats. And I know some people might be like, no, you never root for the Dolphins. Nope, forget that. Take it.
And mess up their draft position if they don't make the playoffs.
Also take that.
Always take that. So for me, I think how I look at it is if they win, very confident just of what they could achieve. I'm not saying they will, but it'll make me feel a little bit better because that is a very difficult game to win on the road with a very good team. Losing it, I don't think the season's over. I'm going to be pissed off. I have a lot of Patriot fan friends. I'll get clowned. Such is life. I went to school in New England, so I mean a lot of, and I'm still very close with a lot of them. So we've been cordial. If we get swept by them, they will not be cordial.
Are they also Red Sox? Are they also Red Sox fans then?
Two of them are Sox and Pats. This is just like my immediate friend group. One of them, he was like a Pat fan, but he has a long football history and became a Jaguars fan. That one is one I'll tell you about separately. Wow. Yeah, and then the other one's a Viking fan. So it's a bit mixed, but Patriot fan friends. And I'll get clowned. So, I mean, that part of it sucks, but it's really more for me in the football side of it. I think the Bills will still make the playoffs, but I don't think any of the remaining games they have are guaranteed wins, mainly because with Cleveland, Shedeur Sanders is playing all right this last.
No.
Well, you're not. I mean, I think he's better than Dylan Gabriel. Because he did good
against the Titans? Yeah, sure. He's better than Dylan Gabriel. That's like saying getting slapped in the face is better than getting punched in the face.
Well, I think what I fear about Cleveland is one, playing in Cleveland with the potential of inclement weather, that defense bearing down on your rushing attack. And if the Bills run game struggles any further this season, playing Judkins, who I think is an incredibly talented back that could punish you on the ground in a game that might be low scoring. That's what scares me about that matchup. Philly, more of the same. It's going to be a thing where I sit here like, hey, I'm a little more stressed about the playoff position, but also I'm a little more stressed about what it even looks like in the playoffs. If this is a game where you get boat raced, even a tighter game, I'll have the moral victory of you played them close, but you didn't get the win, and that's a problem. And you got to solidify your spot because the AFC this year is extremely competitive. There's a ton of parity, and your spot is not solidified at all, even at 9-4. If you finish the season even 11-6, there's no guarantee that you get it there, which is crazy to say. So
Right.
I want to see a win mainly because I think it's just going to be, again, something off their back when it comes to playing Drake May and the Pats this season. Boost for the future, win one more of those games, two more of those games against the Jets or Browns, and you have a chance. If you lose it, I worry about what that means considering their track record this season and the ability to potentially spiral out of control. But December Bills have been good statistically for the past few years. I'm hoping that can maintain. And if they win on Sunday, it'll be a really good boost. It'll be something that I think every Bills fan will just look at and say, thank God. And hope you can repeat
Everybody
it.
Everybody will just go, oh, like the sit back on the couch.
Yeah, just like I was with the Bengal game. I was the same exact way. It wasn't even like I was just relieved. But Anthony, I apologize. This ran a little bit longer.
No, this is my fault too. I get off track. You get off track. You're out here telling me. I still can't believe you're.
Okay, I'll reason with you with this. If it actually had like enough people telling me, don't.
No. Well, okay.
Enough people saying.
What's enough people? What's that quantifier?
Time and place.
So okay, so you're on you're with your girlfriend or one of your boys, whatever. You're in wherever, Tibet, Europe, I don't care, whatever. And someone tells you like, hey, you guys are going up that mountain tomorrow, right? You're gonna see this. Don't go near it. Don't touch it. It's bad. You know, nobody's touched it for years, centuries, whatever the hell. You just get one person who mentions that to you. Just one. You guys go up the mountain the next day. Are you doing the thing that one person told you not to do? Oh, okay.
No.
Okay.
Here, where I'm at with it is if I'm in a place where no one warned me about it and I'm just inquiring because I see it and I'm like, this is really interesting, I would approach it.
That's different.
I would approach that, but I didn't get a chance to communicate that before. That's where I'm at with it. I mean, listen, I would also
made it seem like you're in a Tibetan monastery and all the monks are like, we don't touch that door.
No, if there were 100, not even 100,
it.
if there were like 3 monks there and they all said, don't do it, I'm not doing it. It's more of like hey, if I'm walking and I see something that's really interesting, I want to at least get a look. And maybe that would still get me killed, but I mean, it's adventure at the same time. I could fall in a trap door or whatever. But I'm also just fascinated by like, the idea of just like, this sounds so stupid, but like hidden chambers that haven't been discovered yet. Like that kind of thing is like, it gets like, I'll watch 3-hour-long YouTube videos.
You want to be Nathan Drake. You're like trying to live Uncharted. Like that's what you're trying to do. Like,
kind of, dude, because like think about that concept. No, we won't do that live because you need to go. I apologize. But this was a very fun episode, Anthony, and all this to say, I think the Pats are a great team that are taking advantage of a good schedule, but the Bills are also a good team despite all of our gripes with them. And I think that the Bills have every possibility to go ahead and win this game on Sunday. And if they do, would quell some worry and give them a better chance, even if it's not the division, better seating for the playoffs and a better run potentially in the playoffs, even if these are road games. But parting thoughts, Anthony, where can people find you? What you got going on? Anything you want to say before the night ends?
Oh, yeah, I think stay the course with this Bills team, regardless of what happens Sunday. We've said it in the offseason. We've said it throughout the year that, you know, it'd be nice to win the division for the streak of it and the nostalgia and getting more home games to close out the stadium, yada, yada, in the dream scenario. But the idea is be the best version of yourself come playoff time. And maybe a lot of that is tied to their health. And so whatever happens Sunday, stay the course and don't go crazy and don't go into any doors that you shouldn't. You can find me on Twitter at pro__ant. That's pro 2_ANT. You can find me on Blue Sky at ProAnt. No underscores there, just PROANT. I host a show called Disguise Coverage live every Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern. And then I co-host the Cover One Film Room, which is live every Wednesday, different times depending on what we got going on with our scheduling, myself and Eric. Everything I do is film-based and scheme, structure, X's and O's, individual player evaluations and responsibilities. And that's me.
Yeah, and I say it all the time. If you are a new watcher of the show, new to Cover One, new to Bills football content, the first person you should follow, it's Anthony. I mean, it's just comprehensive breakdowns nonstop on Twitter, answers a ton of your questions, teaches you things you didn't know. It's the reason I get him on the show because he's just a brilliant football mind and someone that I appreciate speaking to about doors that I shouldn't go in. So please do yourselves a favor and follow him. As for me, show_DeRosa on Twitter/X. It is where you can find me. And if you want to talk more about hidden doors, we can do that as long as we want. I love stuff like that, dude. Indiana Jones might actually be next week's tagline just for that reason. It's it is a fun time to be a member of the Cover One community. If you have not subscribed, subscribe. If you have not liked this video or other videos on the network, do so. For me, this show's every week. You can also catch me producing for Eric and Anthony on the Film Room. That is a ton of fun. I enjoy every bit of that. I enjoy the shout outs. Thank you for that, Anthony. I appreciate it.
I
like
forget all the
myself on
time. I'm so shitty for that. I forget.
No, you
all the
don't. You've been
time.
good with it.
I've been a lot better in the past couple months, but I used to forget all the time. And then we'd finish the show and we'd be like, good show. And I'd be like, yeah. Fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I only cried myself to sleep 3 times in the time that I've been doing it. But seriously, guys, check out Film Room if you haven't. Subscribe to the network. Anything you could do to help grow this channel, help grow this community, it's greatly appreciated. One pass sign up in the description below. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Enjoy your weekend. I hope the game on Sunday is a ton of fun. I hope the Bills can get a win. We all want it. But regardless, take care, everybody. Thank you so much again for tuning in, and we will see you soon. Go Bills.